Join us on this 12 miles kayak on the Wye River from Byecross Farm Campsite to Hereford on the 29th September 2023. Watch on to learn about how we negotiated the rapids at Monnington Falls, the amazing scenery in the Wye Valley, the wildlife you can encounter when paddling the Wye River, my views on the Itiwit X100 inflatable kayak that we used, and the historic city of Hereford. This 12 miles paddle on the Wye River took us from Byecross Farm Campsite down to Hereford. We launched from Bycross campsite at 1 PM and negotiated the rapids at Monnington Falls. We continued downstream as the Wye River wound its way through stunning Herefordshire countryside before landing at Hereford Boat Club at 5 PM. Bycross Farm Campsite has an awesome setting right next to the Wye River with its own purpose-built canoe launch. It cost us £9 to park one vehicle and launch our kayak at Bycross Farm Campsite, which looks like an awesome place to stay. We had the usual pre-launch photo with our Itiwit X100 2 or 3 person kayak. We launched from Bycross Farm Campsite at 1 PM and soon came across the rapids at Monnington Falls. Monnington Falls are some rapids on the Wye River formed by a faster slope channel around an island. As shown by the red line here, you can bypass the rapids at Monnington Falls by taking the channel on the left of the island. As shown by the blue line here, if you want to shoot the rapids, then go to the right of the island. The inset footage shows what the rapids on the right of the island at Monnington Falls can be like to paddle, but it obviously depends on the water levels. On the day of our paddle, much of the rock which is normally exposed on the right of the river was submerged. We made a snap decision to take the safer channel on the left of the falls, and more by luck than judgment this turned out to be okay. The left channel was quite narrow with overhanging trees on either side, but at the bottom we rejoined the main channel just downstream of Monnington Falls. We continued on our way downstream, somewhat relieved that we'd negotiated Monnington Falls without mishap. While the river was generally quite slow flowing, we did intermittently encounter some racier sections where we had to keep our wits about us. A flock of Canada geese gaggled and honked in acknowledgement as we paddled past the village of Bycross on the left bank. Some sheep in a riverside meadow ignored us with indifference, more interested in grazing away and enjoying the late summer sun. The water level at the Hereford Bridge gauging station on the day of our trip was 0.8 metres, which was reasonably high for the summer. There had been a fair amount of rain in the week or so before our trip, and there was a reasonable amount of flow in the river as a result. This helped a lot because the flow kept us moving downstream at times even when we were not paddling. It's always worth checking the water levels before you go paddling on the Wye or other rivers. In the summer, the Wye can oftentimes be very low, and this can make it more problematic when paddling because the river can be quite shallow at times, and there's more probability of hitting boulders or rocks under the surface, or even bottoming out. We passed another flock of Canada geese, a couple of whom even flew down onto the river from the bank to get a closer look at us as we paddled past. Canada geese are one of the most common wildfowl that you come across on the Wye River, but you often also come across mallard ducks, swans, coots, moorhens, and if you're lucky, the odd kingfisher. We came upon another racier section of water and aimed for the centre of the downstream facing V, which indicates the deepest, safest path through obstacles like rocks, as the water flows through a clear channel between them. On the Wye River, there's a public right of navigation allowing you to paddle downstream of the bridge at Hereford to Bycross Bridge, where you join the tidal section of the river. This includes the section between Bycross and Hereford that we were paddling this day. Upstream of Hereford Bridge, an agreement exists between anglers and paddlers allowing paddling on the river between the 18th of October to the 15th of March. Paddling on the river upstream of Hereford is though possible outside of these dates, when the river levels are above red markers on 2 designated gauges. Downstream of Bycross Bridge, you enjoy the usual right of navigation applicable to all tidal sections of river, although paddling becomes a lot more challenging because you have to factor in tide times. Regarding logistics, we left a vehicle at either end of the route for this journey. Bycross Farm Campsite is in quite a remote area, and I'm not aware of any feasible options to use buses for this particular route. If you only had one vehicle, then your best option would be to try and book a taxi from one of the companies in Hereford, or maybe Hay-on-Wye. It cost us £5 to park one of our vehicles at Hereford Rowing Club and £1.50 per person land-in fee. Regarding potential dangers or other issues, other than the rapids at Monnington Falls, most of the rest of this route is relatively straightforward flat water paddling. However, you can encounter the other odd racy section of Grade 1 rapids as you paddle this route. You do have to keep your wits about you at times and keep your eyes peeled for obstacles in the river, such as fallen trees or boulders. This is particularly so when the water level in the river is lower. The Wye is a great river to paddle, and it's definitely one of my favourite rivers. We passed the Weir Garden at Swain Bridge, which is a restored walled garden overlooking the river, which is managed by the National Trust. A pebble beach about 2/3 of the way along the route provided a convenient spot for a quick break for a snack, and of course a cider. Looking to the southeast downstream, the Wye River snaked its way through rolling farmland towards Hereford. Looking northwest upstream, the river wound its way towards the foothills of the Black Mountains, which loomed in the distance. This 12 miles journey was part of my undertaking to paddle every section of the Wye River, from Bowrood all the way down to its confluence with the Severn River below Chepstow. I'm uploading videos of all of my trips on the Wye to the Wye River playlist of my YouTube channel. I'm also uploading blog posts of my kayaking trips on the Wye River to my website, which is linked below. On this trip we used the 2 or 3 person version of the Itiwit X100 kayak. The Itiwit X100 is a hybrid single skin PVC kayak with a high pressure drop stitch floor and lower pressure side tubes. The drop stitch floor inflates to 5 psi, while the side tubes inflate to 3 psi. The Itiwit X100 kayaks are over 1 meter wide at the widest point in the middle, and they're therefore very stable inflatable kayaks. The trade-off for the stability is that the X100s are not the fastest kayaks, nor do they track that well. We fitted the longer orange SUP fins onto the X100 kayak, and this noticeably improved the tracking when compared to using the shorter black fins which come with the kayak as standard. I've done a full review of the 2 or 3 person model of the Itiwit X100 kayak on the product reviews playlist of my channel. While it's called a 2 or 3 person kayak, it can in fact only accommodate up to 2 adults, although a young child could also fit in the middle between them. The Itiwit X100 also comes in a shorter 1 or 2 person version, which is yellow and grey. I've also done a full review of the 1 or 2 person version of the X100 kayak on the product reviews playlist of my channel. Both versions of the X100 kayak are comfortable and stable inflatable kayaks. I have though in the longer term had some issues with build quality, such as the glue in some of the seams starting to fail, and I've not found them to be as robust as some of the full drop stitch inflatable kayaks that I've used. As we neared Hereford, the river became very flat and slow flowing. It felt like you were paddling through parkland, with the serene waters being flanked on either side by trees still heavily laden with their summer foliage. We passed somebody paddling upstream from Hereford in a racing kayak, who shouted over that he had just seen a kingfisher a bit further downstream. We kept our eyes peeled as we paddled downstream, but the kingfisher didn't show itself to us. As we made the final push, we approached the outskirts of Hereford, a historic city on the Wye River. Hereford developed as a 7th century Saxon settlement at a vital river ford, leading to its growth as a border town and bishopric by the early 8th century. Its name in Old English translates as Army Ford due to its strategic position. The section of river upstream of Hereford is very flat and slow flowing, which makes it suitable for Hereford Rowing Club to use it for their training sessions. We had been out on the river for almost 4 hours by now, and were very much looking forward to a beer at Hereford Beer House, which stocks a huge selection of beers and ciders. Downstream, the tower of the 12th century Hereford Cathedral loomed into view. Hereford's historic city centre has some lovely old streets which are a pleasure to walk around, especially the area around the cathedral. Hereford Rowing Club, where we landed, is on the bottom left of picture, and downstream is the Row Bridge and then the old Wye Bridge, which dates back to 1490. Hereford Cathedral is home to the famous Mappa Mundi, which shows the world as it was known at the time of its creation in the 13th century. During the 1645 siege of Hereford in the English Civil War, the Wye Bridge was the scene of heavy fighting between the royalist defenders and the parliamentarian besiegers. We landed at Hereford Rowing Club at 5 PM after another great paddle on the Wye River. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider subscribing by clicking on the left below. Click on the right below to be taken to the playlist of videos of my other trips along the Wye River.